Good evening. Welcome to the Tennessee Thunder podcast. I'm your host, Stephany Davis, and we're waiting for Jason. He was knocked off for some reason. He's having some technical issues, but he is in the studio. He has already been on once. I think I see him actually trying to log on now. So, Jason, stand by. I will add you in just a second. First, I just want to welcome everyone to the podcast. Sorry we're late, but Jason attended the Budget and Finance Committee here in Union County tonight, and he's got some really good information for us about what took place at that meeting. It's something that we all need to know about because it's our money, and money is running scarce these days. And when politicians like to spend money, as they usually do with their projects, we definitely want to know what is happening before things are voted on. So these committees actually kind of give us a view of what is about to happen across the county, so that we're not caught off guard. The only problem with our committee meetings is that sometimes we don't get to see them unless we attend the meetings. They're not always brought live by the local media. So someone has to be at these meetings to keep an eye on it, folks, right? So we just want to make sure that we're not getting caught off guard with any surprises. And when it comes to future taxes in this county, we definitely, or fees, whatever they want to call them, we definitely do not want to be caught off guard. Now, I'm going to go ahead and add Jason, and then we'll start making some announcements here. So, Jason, give me just a second here. I want to try to mute my phone. All right. Now, let me add you. Good evening, Jason. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. I think you're frozen just a little bit. Let me change the screen.
Well, that's what I was checking. That's what happened to me the first time.
You're a little bit washed out too, but I know it's more important to have you talking and not just frozen. You look like you're a cartoon character from Frozen. So,
well, that's better than the alternative.
Well, at least we can hear your voice, and maybe it'll catch up here soon. There's probably some problems with
well, it's probably my internet. I go ahead and tell you. I actually had a conversation with the mayor while I was at the meeting, well, after the meeting, and asked about that, and he said they're still working on it. So actually, he did tell me for the Speedwell side, they submitted a proposal or gave him a bill or something of those sorts for 50 poles that they're going to need over on the Speedwell side. So I guess they're going to start there and then work their way this way. I'm assuming.
Oh, well, good for Speedwell. They sometimes get left in the.
I was hoping they'd do both at the same time, but apparently not.
Yeah, you would think they could, but I don't claim to know all the ins and outs of that industry, so I wouldn't be able to tell you if that's a good or bad thing. But glad you're finally live, not frozen. It looks like we've got some movement at least on your end.
Well, I'm trying to adjust my internet here, and maybe that will help. I don't know.
That's fine. If it's all right with you, Jason, to get this party started, as we always say, let's go over some announcements while you're getting yourself fixed there. So let's begin with our mixer coming up next Tuesday February 27th at Hardee's on Maynardville Highway. Now, we had a good little gathering last month, and we missed some of you guys. I missed some of our regulars. I know that many of you were traveling last month. Some of you were sick. We hope to have you back. We don't like it when we get called the 8 to 10 club, but it just seems like that every time we have a good crowd, our regulars are gone, and then we're back to the 8 to 10 club. It's funny, but we actually I think we had someone watching us through the window. That was kind of interesting. We had a car that was parked on us with the lights, the kind of like you've seen the movie Christine. And the person never showed themselves, but they were out there the whole time with their lights shining in at our meeting. That was kind of interesting, but we kept an eye on things. Nothing bad happened or anything. But when you have meetings like we're having in these public places, you've always got people that follow you around, and they're checking to see, how many people are there, and if you've got any type of activities, so they can go back and report to their friends, friends and family plan. But anyway, we are meeting. The purpose of the mixer is to encourage you guys to run for office, or to bring family and friends who can also run for office. Now, as you know, we have started, actually not us, but there's a group of citizens trying to get a Union County Constitutional Republican Party started right here in Union County. And that is umbrellaed under the Tennessee Constitutional Republican Party. And in order for that to happen, we have to have people that are willing to possibly even be officers for that. And so one of the reasons we're having a mixer at this point, we're just having joint mixers until we can get officers. I guess people decide they want to have the party. It's formed. It's just that we need officers. So neither Jason or I want to do that, only because we're wearing so many hats already. So we're looking for some leaders there. And we're also, the whole point of having the Union County Constitutional Republicans is because we need new people to run for local office. That is the purpose of the Tennessee Constitutional Republicans, their main chapter, and they start chapters across the state. Union County was one of the first. I think there's maybe 5 or 6 different counties already that have the Constitutional Republican Party. We all have the same kind of logo and everything. And basically, you elect officers, and then you find people to run for office. And that is especially going to be important with our county commission and our school board races. We're getting ready to have a school board election coming up, but I'm not sure if it's too late for anyone to run for that. I'm sure Jason can update us on that later. But as far as commission in 2026, it is not too early, folks, to start looking for folks to run. And also for mayor, also for sheriff, and all the other 2026 election offices. It's time now to start looking for people, or to run yourself. We need great people every day, moms and dads. Are you there? Hello?
I'm here. I'm just froze again.
Oh, okay. I heard you. I thought you were saying something. So we need everyday moms and dads, grandparents, just everyday people, working class people to run for these offices. Constitutional loving American citizens. And, we always talk about how we want things to change in DC, how we want to get rid of the swamp and the corruption, all the things that are going on with the deep state. We have a deep state right here, folks, right here in Union County. We have people that are disguised, or say they're Republican, say they're conservative, but they're acting like they're not, with very progressive policies and that kind of thing. And, you know who they are by their actions. And so that's one of the reasons we started the constitutional Republican movement, because we wanted people that love the country and know that the grassroots right here in Union County, this is where it starts and it goes all the way to DC. So we need conservatives to run for these offices. As Jason says, God fearing, freedom loving patriots that want our county to be saved, just like they want our country to be saved. And we're certainly not going to find that in people who love taxes, big government, and regulations, and all the stuff that these folks do sometimes, or do a lot actually, and call themselves conservatives. So we have a lot of things that we're involved in relative to the state legislature.
Can you hear me?
Sure. Yes, I can.
Okay.
But I don't see you
I'm
moving. You're frozen.
I'm frozen again.
That's okay.
Let it go. Let it go. No.
As long as we can hear your voice, we're good. We you know, I guess people, they'll get tired of seeing me, but that's okay. We'll just go with the flow. So next Tuesday night at 7:00, this will be a mixer. We have, last time we did a dessert mixer. We will either just all have something at Hardee's, or we'll come up with something else. We have not really found a theme that we wanted to do because we did desserts last time. So I think we're just going to all meet there this time and sort of have a mixer / meeting. It will be a meeting where we actually have goals besides just mingling and meeting other conservatives. There will be some different things we're going to discuss, and we're going to find solutions for and offer that out. And we want to hear your ideas, of course. That's what this is for. And play, or I guess you'd say lay ground for some strategies relative to some things that are occurring in our community. And Jason's getting ready to cover that here very shortly. We're getting ready, folks, to get into 2024 budget season. Anytime that county commission meets, it's always about raising taxes, doing regulation. It's almost like the whole point of their meeting anymore. So there's some things that you all need to know about, and we've got to have some strategies laid in place to combat that. So we're going to discuss that at the mixer. So be sure to invite a friend, and all the regulars out there, you know who you are. Please try to attend that meeting, because we definitely want to have a nice little group. We would have had a huge group before, but a lot of people were out of town. So hopefully we can get everybody in the same place next Tuesday night. Our school choice trip, we call it Freedom of Education, which we are very much in favor of, will be March the 6th. And AFP is providing a bus to take a group down. They've been graciously providing transportation and food for those who want to come down. And we will have a legislative language, hopefully. I'm sure we are. I'm pretty sure that from what I understood the other night, the language is pretty much there, and it should be released here this week, actually. So we're very excited about that, to see what kind of language will be in place for that legislation that will allow all the children in our state to have access to private institutions. I believe they took homeschools out. I don't have all the details, but that was not because they wanted to kick out homeschools. It was because, my understanding, that the Homeschool Association, which was the national association, decided to opt out. They did not want to be involved because they had some concerns about strings being attached. But it's really, folks, it's up to you on what kind of language. Now, if you're a teacher, you also have access to this. And there's all kinds of opportunities for our great teachers in our public schools. There's a lot of plans. And if it's something that, pretty much most of us have always said that if it's something that the language comes back and there's strings attached, or if there's something we don't like that's too much government, we are getting out. We're going to try to basically kill it in committee and get out and try again another year, because this bill has to be right. It has to be pro parent. The money has to follow the child, and the parents need to be the decision makers and not the schools. And there's a lot of different things we're looking for in that legislation. We want to make sure it's done the right way. And so that is March the 6th, and they will have a bus, usually at the Food City in Halls. We meet very early at 7 a.m. and we ride over that morning, and we're usually in Nashville by 10 a.m. And then we have lunch, and then we go around and meet different legislators, pro and con, talk with them about their thoughts and ideas. And with the language, we should have a pretty good idea if it's something we can definitely support all the way to it becoming a bill. So we will just have to see what takes place. You've got, I think it's 2 more trips, and really this trip in March is the I guess you'd say you're most likely to be able to have a say, because once it gets past certain committees and it gets to the floor, you will not have any more say. But you actually, as a citizen, have say now. You have an ability to speak. Jason and I both, we talked with legislators when we were there in their offices. They're very gracious in having us in there. That's what they're there for, is to hear our voices and their constituents' concerns. And we spoke to several legislators, had some very positive feedback. We had some feedback that was concerning, to us as well as the legislature. But again, we did not have, I'm sorry about the dog, folks. My daughter just walked in. We did not have the legislative language. And so therefore we could not answer a lot of the questions until we have that language. Sorry about, I have a very noisy chihuahua. All right. And let's see if there's anything else. Oh, County Commission meeting is next Monday night, February the 26th at 7 p.m. And Jason's going to go over, I'm sure, a little bit about the contents of that meeting, because he's been to the Budget and Finance tonight. And
there's actually several meetings that day.
Oh, okay. That's fine. You can go over those meetings if you wish.
Well, first and foremost, I didn't get to do my usual opening, so I don't know. I just got some bad news for folks that like to go to the Hall Cinema 7. So I will announce this real quick. The Hall Cinema 7 announced that the theater will close its doors effective today, Tuesday, February the 20th. Their statement goes on to say Hall Cinema 7 is proud to be known for offering quality entertainment at affordable prices over the last 14 years. I won't go through all that, but the decision to close was made after long and careful deliberation. Our decision was based on economics. Revenue simply did not keep up with the cost of operation. As an independent theater, we are constantly combating the struggle between our desire to provide customers with what they deserve and expect, with the cost of providing the latest in technology, so on and so forth. But there's been several theaters or cinemas, or whatever you want to call them, that has closed here in the Knoxville area in the last little bit. The old Carmike theaters, which became a different company, they all closed around here and all that kind of thing. That just shows you what the economy is doing. And even their statement says economics. But just wanted to, I just got that and it just popped up. And so I thought I'd let everybody know the Hall Cinema 7 is now closed.
That is sad.
Um,
That is sad. Um, I have some great memories of that theater. I mean, that theater has been a part of my family's movie going experience for ever since they were kids. And then, of course, back when I was younger, had some wonderful memories from that theater. I saw a lot of great blockbusters there and had a great time. And I think it's been around a lot longer than 14 years. I think
yeah, that's a new owner.
yeah, they took it over because it was there in the 80s. So it's been
Well, I know
around.
when I worked for Regal Entertainment Group, which was Regal Cinemas at the time, the owner before, maybe the owner before that, actually tried to get Regal Cinemas to take it over, and Regal refused. But yep, it's just a sign of things to come in this environment and with the way things are. But as I was trying to say, I didn't get to open like I normally do, but so I will now. Thank you for joining us on Tennessee Thunder Podcast. We appreciate you being here. Remember, like, share, comment. We appreciate you. You can watch us here on Facebook, on YouTube, and Rumble, and
We're
X,
not on
formerly known as
X.
Twitter. Nope,
We're
not
not
on
on
X.
X. Well, we could be, but I have to upgrade the package. And
Okay, well,
me poll right now. So
I'm
we
full
will
right now too.
we will hopefully have an upgrade in the next, hopefully, if things go well. We have some big plans with our podcasting, hoping to have some sponsors so that we can have some funding for better equipment and that kind of thing. So that will happen hopefully within at least the next 5 to 6 months.
Right. Okay, so back to this coming Monday's meeting here. I'm pulling them up. We've got the Planning and County Commission workshop on the 26th. That's going to start at 5:30 in the large courtroom. That is where they're going to discuss this fee for campers and RVs and try to hammer out the details on that. Then at 6 p.m., the Planning Commission will meet, also in the large courtroom. And then at 7 p.m., County Commission will meet. And they have a lot to go over. And from my understanding, there's going to be a discussion about this 911 situation, just to touch base on that. I know a lot of people have been interested in what's going on there. I know some of the county commissioners has asked somebody from the state to come and talk to county commission, answer questions, and actually get down to the facts. And of course, we already know what the facts are, because some poor soul went to Nashville and did some digging himself. Not gonna name no names. Oh, that was me. No. But anyways, so I am still digging on some stuff just to touch a little bit on that. We have discovered that a lot of dispatchers are not certified or qualified to be dispatchers. They're currently going through training, trying to catch up to training, and all that kind of thing. I do have the training record, so if anybody wants to argue with me that I'm wrong, feel free, because I do have the training records in my hand. So go right ahead. And they could have been updated since the time that I got them, but I do have them. And I got them a week or so ago. So, yeah. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it's explained, or explained away why they did what they did. And county commission has some questions, and I've talked to several of the county commissioners about it. They're not happy. So, folks, a lot of the county commissioners are having the people's back as far as this 911 situation goes. and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, interesting information. So plan on being out there at the county commission meeting at 7 p.m. on Monday if you don't make it to any other ones of those meetings. But that's that. So yeah, that's our next meetings as far as county government goes.
Great. Well, you've been busy.
I try.
Yeah, that 911 thing is that's something that should interest everyone. And even though we have people that will hopefully not have to use 911 services, you've got to have 911 working with citizens to make sure that they can get the care they need while they're waiting on their ambulance. And so this is a very serious issue. This could cost lives. And that's one of the reasons that we brought it to the spotlight, because we wanted the citizens to know what was going on. And if you were to call, hopefully it doesn't happen to any of you, but if you were to call with an emergency, basically the board voted that they couldn't really say anything to you about, things to try with the victim or anything. And we had a real issue with that because, that's a service that directs or that affects all of us in some way, directly or indirectly. We've all got loved ones and friends that may need these services. And it's probable I've had to call several times in my family's history in the last 20 years or so. And, that at that time they were very helpful and assisted me and my family, did a great job, and we got the help we needed and got people to the hospital. So anyway, that's got to be addressed. And so I guess we'll just have to see how that turns out with commission.
There's requirements by law for these 911 dispatchers. They have to be trained in certain things. And just based on what I've discovered, they're not up to speed on their training. I'll just say it that way. And it's not a knock on them or anything like that. And I do want to applaud those dispatchers that are going above and beyond and taking it on their own and giving instructions, even though they're not supposed to. And I do know that there's some of that going on. And when I say not supposed to, I mean they're following Tennessee state law. They are not following what 911 board told them to not do. So I just want to thank them for doing that. And following state law as opposed to listening to the board telling them not to do that.
Well, that board, and I'm sorry.
And speaking of that board, not to cut you off, but speaking of that board, just on my conversations with some of these commissioners that I've been speaking with, it's going to get interesting on Monday. So that's all I'm going to say about it. So just come on down. We might see some fireworks.
Well, that board needs to be held accountable. Even if they were just being told misinformation, I hate to use that word, but if they were giving bad information, someone on that board should have researched that and been very upfront and accountable. If not that night, at least bring it up at the next meeting or call for an emergency meeting. That would have been the best thing to do, to say, we've screwed up. Let's have an emergency meeting and make this right, because people's lives are in the balance here. So to me, that was very, very irresponsible of that board. And I'm talking about every board member. If you're on a board, you're responsible for those things that happen in those meetings. And so that needs to be addressed. Every board member needs to be looked at.
All right. So that's coming up Monday. Be there, be square, or be round like me.
No more ice cream, Jason.
Nope. I got to eat more ice cream. I got to keep my figure going. Anyway, do we want to, what do you want to talk about? You want to talk about tonight's meeting or what do you want to do?
Well, we've got some great
I've
news.
got one more announcement. I'm sorry. I just keep cutting you off. I got one more shout out. Folks, be proud of yourself. Those of you that have been involved kind of thing. I got word earlier while I was in the meeting as well that some of our efforts, including all the efforts of several folks in Greene County and all that good stuff, we won that fight to save constables in Greene County. Greenville County Commission voted, even though that it was a close vote, from my understanding. Greene County has voted to keep their constables, and so that's another win in the column of freedom, if you ask me.
Yeah, that's what my announcement was. You stole my thunder.
Did I miss it?
Well, we have been basically we started talking and we don't have the effect in Greene County that we would like to have, but basically for a small group of citizens that were interested in our constable situation across the state of Tennessee. Let me make this a little bit smaller. That bugs me. There's too much delay. Actually, back before it snowed, we started joining Greene County groups on Facebook and exposing what was happening. A lot of citizens were not aware of it. They were not told anything about this. Apparently they have similar issues in their commission as we do. So there wasn't any communication prior to this meeting. And so people were unaware. And we put the word out. And of course, we created, as we always do, a ruckus. I'll call it a ruckus, a stink or whatever, about what was about to take place. We called it defunding the police. But it was worse than defunding. It was abolishing the people's police, which are our constables. And so just like our issues here in the past with some of our commissioners trying to abolish our constables, they use the word liability. And anytime you see this across the state with the constables and commissioners and sheriffs that go after the constables to abolish or defund, it is always the word liability. Now, I want you all to remember that for a reason, because we see this word used a lot when people are trying, or politicians are trying to get rid of something that is valuable to we the people. And so abolish or defund the police, it's all the same. We had people on there trying to argue that that was different, that they were not defunding. And I said, no, it's worse. You all are trying to abolish. And of course, they got upset, as a lot of them do here in Union County, when you point out the truth to them, or you point out a hypocrisy that they're doing. They tried to turn it and shoot the messenger and not be responsible for their own actions. So that started all that ball rolling, and along with one of our constables that went over and some other constables across the state to support the constables in Greene County. This was a win for we the people, and we the people therefore have preserved another office that was once a constitutional office, and we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But there are some things that are in the works, which we'll get into later, that need to be done to stop the craziness around the constables and around any other elected body that tries to abolish another elected body. We're going to get into that here tonight on the Tennessee Thunder podcast. So, Jason, what say you?
That's right. And I want to give a special shout out there to our very own constable here in Union County, John Dennis. We appreciate and thank you for going all the way out there and representing us and representing the Constitution constable family. I say family because that's what they are. The constable family all the way out there in Greenville tonight. And thank you for what you do. And thank you for protecting us when you're here in Union County. So thank you very much, Mr. Dennis. And we appreciate you. And
I have one other announcement, not related to constable.
Mr. Dennis, look forward to seeing you and your family at the dinner Saturday night.
You keep stealing my announcements.
You poor thing.
Yeah. So, folks, we were very excited about joining the Union County Republican Party. We were invited to have a table here a while back. And, you know, we want to work with Republicans, but we want to work with real Republicans. But we thought it would be really cool to have our own table for the Tennessee Freedom Coalition. And you guys know some of our struggles in the past with some of the Republicans here in the county. We have at times called them out, and we don't apologize for that. We have tried to talk with many of them one-on-one to, you know, communicate better what we're after. Basically, we're just wanting them to realize that tax and spend politics, regulation, big government is not a synonym of the Republican Party. And apparently many of them think it's okay. And they have, you know, continued to support local taxation, argue against people who don't want to be taxed in excess, argued against people who don't want to be regulated, and argued against people who do not want to grow big government. So we're still struggling with some of those folks. We're not against any of these people personally. Some of these people are very nice people, but they just are maybe just not as conservative as we are or hope they would be. But it is definitely not something, I mean, we're not the only people that think we're the only group in the state. You're mistaken. There's other groups just like us in other communities. They have some of the same struggles with their local Republican Party, especially the ones who are serving in these seats, in these political seats. And so the struggle is real, folks. We will have a table there. We will behave ourselves. Well, at least I will. I don't know about Jason, but
I don't know. I might get a little rowdy.
We will behave ourselves. We will represent everybody well. We do have 6 other patriots joining us at that table. We're very honored to have them and their families present. And we're excited about sharing dinner with them and breaking bread and having some great fellowship in the patriot style that we're accustomed to. So who's our speaker there, Jason?
I believe that's Mr. Birchie.
Yep. One of my favorites. Yeah, he's pretty good for a politician. He's pretty funny, actually.
Hey, he's actually a really nice guy.
Yeah, I don't want to call him a politician, but you know me and politicians. But you know, I like. There's a lot of politicians that I like as people. They're funny. They're charismatic. I just want them to act like Republicans. So,
right. Well, speaking of politicians, I will just take a moment and say thank you to the ones that have been talking to me. You know, I got to give a shout out to them too. They've been doing an awesome job as far as, you know, listening to my concerns and telling me what, you know, they're kind of thinking and that kind of thing back and forth. And, you know, having conversation with a citizen, because that's basically all I am. I just have a loud mouth and I get on these podcasts and I tell things. But you know, like I said, I've got to give credit where credit is due. because people say that I'm negative and all that stuff all the time, but I'm not. So those of you county commissioners out there that have been listening to me and have been talking to me, I mean, some of you have been on the phone with me all the way up till midnight or later, trying to get this 911 situation handled. So I do want to just say thank you to you folks out there, you county commissioners that have been listening.
Well, yeah, we've been talking to a lot of elected officials, Jason, over the last few months. And like I said, over in Nashville, you've been talking more to local officials than I have. I have spoke to one or two in the last, and that's pretty good for me.
Now you sound like the 8 to 10.
I have spoke to a couple that have been, listen, not all the commissioners have been, I guess you'd say, ignoring me. I've actually spoke to one of the Democrats too on the commission. I guess we know who that is, because I've been very proud of the things he's done. He's been more conservative than some of the Republicans on that commission. And I've spoke to several of the commissioners in some of the other districts. I've spoke to one of our commissioners over here in the District 4 that I think we're going to be able to work together on in the future. So I'm very positive that of some of those things that are occurring now doesn't mean that we're for sale, does not mean that we're selling out. It just means that we're able to keep an open, logical dialogue. This is about policy, folks. This is not about personalities. And I think that was one of the struggles we had in the beginning, is that some of the commissioners thought we were attacking them personally. This was not about them. This was about the policies, the tax and spend policies and the regulations and all the things we continue to struggle with to this very day. But I think our coalition is come a long way, as the old saying, you've come a long way, baby. We can say it like Arnold Schwarzenegger right here, come a long way, baby, in his Austrian accent. So anyway, without further ado, what you got, Jason?
Well, let's go over the budget and finance meeting that happened tonight, and also the financial management meeting that happened tonight. I attended both. Me and Leslie did, and sat there, and I listened, and she crocheted. Anyways, all right. So we got to the mayor's report. He had a lot to talk about. I've got my notes in front of me. I know I can't hold it up because you can't see it, but it's right there in front of me. So let's go over it. If you remember one of the previous podcasts, we talked about ankle monitors had to be figured out for the work release folks that are helping in the summertime, mowing the school grounds and all those kinds of things. So the mayor reported that he did get a price on these ankle monitors, and it's actually cheaper than what he thought. He's looking at 2 ankle monitors at a cost of $4 per day, and he's only going to be charged for the days that they actually use them, and they have to actually apparently go and turn them on and turn them off so they don't continuously get charged. At $4 a day, the estimated price is going to be $2,080 per year, and he's asking to allocate $2,500 to that. Keep in mind, folks, this is a budget and finance meeting. This goes on to county commission. The county commission votes it as this kind of a process, like a subcommittee, and then it goes up. So just because these things are talked about and moved forward doesn't mean that county commission is actually going to vote on that themselves. So keep that in mind as we're talking about these things. And so there's that. So that's the ankle monitors. He also talked about the middle school football field. As we well by now, they're talking about putting the jail possibly on that football field, the new jail. So there was an argument whether or not the county owned the ball field, or the school board own the ball field. And they've been doing some digging, and Marilyn Toppins found a deed that actually says the board owns it. And so David Myers is going to continue digging that. So we'll find out more about that come Monday night, to who actually owns the middle school football field. I don't know why that's funny to me, because it's really not. You think we would know who owns it. But anyways, I also talked about the Rush Strong School grant, or the Rush Strong School up in Sharps Chapel. They're looking for a grant to try to rehabilitate that. This grant that they're trying to get is $50,000. We'll see how that works. But they also can transfer ownership of that historic building. If, say, a nonprofit wanted to take it over and rehab it or whatever, that is also another option that they're looking at. The Steiner building across from the courthouse, I know we've been talking about that purchase for a while now. That is now a county-owned property as of Valentine's Day. They did pay us $1. So there's that. So that is now a county-owned property. The talk currently about what to use that building for is to tear it down and build a 2-story parking garage. Or that's the latest anyway. The mayor's also wanting to apply for a Healthy Built grant. And what he wants to do with that is to build 2 multi-purpose fields behind Wilson Park. Originally, he wanted to do some basketball courts, but with the talk of building the school, or the jail, the new jail on the middle school football field, he's thinking, well, maybe we don't need to do basketball courts, because we're going to have some soccer fields, football fields for the middle schoolers to play on, and so on and so forth. So if you are familiar with Wilson Park, you go up the hill and back down the hill, where the wooded area is behind the gazebo and all that kind of stuff. That is still part of Wilson Park. Now, the softball fields on one side of Wilson Park, that is school board property. And of course, the football field on the other side by the high school is school board property. However, the county owns Wilson Park, and Wilson Park does go back into the woods and has several acres back there. And so he proposes to build 2 multi-purpose fields back there. Yeah, they'll have to tear some trees down and so on and so forth to make that happen. However, he also did throw out another idea. And with that property and possibly getting a little bit more property from the school board, that would equal about 18 acres back there behind where Wilson Park is. And so that would possibly, hint, hint, wink, wink, possibly be a new place for a new jail or a new justice center even. Who knows? Let's see what happens. But that was talked about and repeated several times. It's 18 acres. It's another idea, another place that we possibly could put the new jail. So now we have Wilson Park for the jail. We have the football field for the jail, and we have the current parking lot next to the county courthouse for the jail. Those are the 3 places they are now looking at. And I know one county commissioner is actually wanting to look at maybe possibly putting it at the Steiner building property instead of a parking garage. So some ideas being thrown out there. Again, 18 acres would be available there at Wilson Park. So that went down there. Then we had the budget amendments, the contracts, the surplus. The administrator of elections was there. Miss Candy Booker was there. She's trying to hire, or she did hire a person. She had an employee leave, and so she hired a person. Nothing big there. So we get into the county commission meeting, before and what we expect with the upcoming meetings with planning and commission together and that kind of thing. We get to talking about the fees for the possible RVs and campers, that kind of thing. So that's another income generating avenue for county government. And that's the way it's being tossed out by county officials. It's a revenue generator, these fees. Well, here's another one that is being talked about tonight, is increasing, and they talked about it once or twice before, but they're putting their foot down on the pedal to the metal on this one now. So that's a building permits increase. And again, it's another revenue stream that's being pushed by Cheryl Walker. She's the main talker behind it, the main one pushing it. She has got information from Claiborne County, and they've raised their fees. The question was asked tonight by some other commissioners, would that make us the highest priced? And, the fee scale that she was proposing, and it would discourage people from coming in to move to and build in Union County. And Larry Lay, Greg Dyer, some of the other ones were pushing back on how much she was proposing because it's getting up there. For example, right now, if you go want to build a 1,200 square foot home, which would run you about $250,000 to build right now today, and you'd sell it for $300,000 roughly, give or take, to get a building permit to do that today would cost you $300. Under Cheryl Walker's proposal, that same $300 building permit would then cost you $750. So that's more than double. That's a lot of money. And that's just on the small scale. Now you go to the larger scale homes and it goes up from there. You say you want to build $1 million, you got a little money in your pocket and you want to build $1 million home. Again, current building permit doesn't cost you, a couple $100, 300, maybe a little more. Under this new proposal by Cheryl Walker, that $1 million home, it's $1 million home. Cheryl Walker's reasoning behind it is, well, if you can afford to build $1 million home, you don't care what other fees come along with that. And, you spend that a lot of money on landscaping or furniture or this, that, and the other. So a $10,000 building permit for your $1 million home won't hurt you any. And again, some of the other county commissioners, Larry Lay, Greg Dyer, they were like, whoa, wait, whoa, $10,000 for a building permit just because it's $1 million home and they can afford it. They didn't like that idea.
Okay. I have a question, and some of our we're getting some questions here on our question board. So one of the questions is, if I want to build one of those little sheds or build something on my property, how is that feed out?
Well, this is all topics that they're talking about currently. So under Cheryl Walker's proposal, she says this, if they went with her idea, which, like I said, several of the other county commissioners weren't game with, if they proceeded and did Cheryl Walker's idea, this would generate a little over $250,000 more in revenue for the county.
How are they getting that figure?
They took what is currently on average being built, what size houses are currently being built, and she had the numbers. This many $1 million houses were built, this many 1,200 square feet homes, and she had it broke down, and that's how she's coming up with this average. And she worked with Randy Turner, I believe, to come up with this average. And so I'm not going to doubt their numbers because I don't have their numbers in front of me. But so here's the problem. Union County, as far as the county goes, the city is completely different. So Maynardville is different. So you got to take the city of Maynardville out of the equation. So we're just talking about county, not city. Well, the problem is Union County does not have a building inspector that actually inspects codes and so on and so forth. They have a building inspector, but not really a building inspector. So there's nobody to enforce anything right now. And so Cheryl Walker's argument is, okay, well, if we're generating another $250,000 plus in revenue, then we can hire somebody and use part of that money to pay this person to be a true building inspector and to be able to enforce building permits and that kind of thing. So what we've got going on, I see that smile on your face. So what the problem is, and what several of the county commissioners was bringing up, going back at Cheryl, was, okay, well, we got somebody that says, and this has happened, this is fact, this actually has happened here in this county. So we got somebody that goes and buys a cheap building permit, $25, and says that they're going to build a barn. And then they go home or to their property and they build a brand new house. But they got a building permit. They just didn't build what they said they were going to build. Larry Lay even said, I know somebody that built a house, lived in it for 10 years and never even paid taxes on it because we didn't know about it because it didn't even get a building permit on it. Because that's what a building permit is, basically. A building permit tells the county, hey, I'm going to build something. So thank you for allowing me to build on my property. Here's my permit to do such. And when I'm done building it, you'll send your tax assessor down there and he will increase my property tax based on what I build. And thank you very much. I appreciate it. Wink, wink. So Larry Lay said that this guy got away with it for 10 years because he didn't get a building permit. So nobody knew he built a house, and he got away with not paying the property taxes for 10 years. And so that was one of the ideas of why this wouldn't work, because there's no enforcement. We have no inspector. And so the argument back and forth was, well, even if they did come and get a permit, who's going to go out and say, oh, they got a permit for a pole barn and they build a $500,000 house? And then what's going to happen? There's no legal recourse to go back and say, oh, you shame. You built the wrong thing. Now you got to pay us more, because the county can't do that, according to Mayor Bailey and such. You can't do that. There's no mechanism to go back just because we don't have a building inspector. We don't have a codes enforcement. So therefore, there's no way to check and balance that. And so, like I said, Cheryl Walker is like, well, we can hire somebody to do that. We'll see what happens. Now, the other thing was, if you already own the property and you already just build what you want to, then who's going to enforce that? Again, the argument goes back, well, we don't have anybody to enforce that. And who's to say you even need a building permit? Just build what you want, and nobody's going to notice until Randy Turner, drives by your house and does your reassessment and says, uh-oh, that building wasn't there 10 years ago when I drove by. And so let's reassess and let's add that on there. And that's kind of how that works. If there's no building permit, again, a building permit tells the county, hey, I'm building something. Y'all need to come check it out. So that's where we're at.
It's not like they're going to make you tear it down.
Right. So, it's a double-edged sword, especially if you don't, like I said, if there's not any checks and balances to it, not that I'm saying we need to go out and hire a bunch of building inspectors and all that. I'm not saying that at all. But if there's no checks and balances to the system, they're relying on you being honest. And, if you're going to raise my building permit from $300 to $750, I'd dare say there's going to be a little bit fewer honest people when they have to come down to it.
Well,
especially when you get these builders from out of town that come in and build these subdivisions and those kinds of things. Them's great big companies that come in and buy all the farmland and then build all these big subdivisions, sell them all and take off. They're just going to pass the buck, and it's just going to be added to your house price, but they're not going to be, wanting to come build these subdivisions and stuff when, you're talking about a $1 million home, which nowadays is fairly easy to build if you can afford it. I can't, but if you could, especially, these lake homes and that kind of thing, $1 million home, get there real quick. And you're going to have to pay $10,000 for a building permit to build that home. That's going to discourage a lot of people to come here.
Well, I would hate to be the inspector that goes out and tells Bubba that he owes the county $10,000.
That was another thing that Angela Connor Murphy said.
Because listen, I go to a lot of these houses. That's my job as a canvasser. And listen, these boys don't play. Okay. They've got no trespassing at all. They've got gates up. They ain't playing. And somebody sends somebody out there to collect a tax or collect a fee, I should say, but it's really a tax on something they just built because they wanted to build a barn or whatever for their horse. And you walk up on their property and you're like, you're in violation of our code, blah, blah, blah. Do you think that's going to go over too well? And then, who's going, like you said, who's going to enforce it? Is the building code inspector going to enforce it if there was one? And how is he going to enforce it? Is he going to bring his weapons with him to make sure that it's collected? Is he going to call the sheriff, and the sheriff is going to show up and say, well, now, Bubba, you got to do your fair share. It's the fair tax. It's the fair fee. I mean, that just ain't going to work. Not in Union County.
Well, like I said, Angela Connor Murphy actually made that point and said she didn't see a whole lot of good things. Well, she didn't say that exactly, but I'm just paraphrasing. She didn't see a whole lot of good things coming out of somebody coming up and saying, hey, what you building there? You can't do that. That kind of thing. Yeah,
that's not going to work. That's it.
They might have a little bit easier time with these great big companies that come in and build these subdivisions kind of thing. They might have a little bit easier time, but I don't see that going over too well with a bunch of these country folk around here.
Yeah, I think they would probably have a little better luck with that, maybe at Sunset Bay or someplace where someone's used to that kind of regulation, that they would just say cave in and say, well, okay, whatever. But I think these country folk that have been here for generations are just they're not going to be too happy about this. And good luck to the commissioners trying to get that across.
Well, one of the funniest things that Cheryl Walker did say tonight was she repeated it several times, and she said, we on county commission like to spend way too much money. And I'm like, hey, I can agree with you right there. We just spend money all the time. And I'm again like, yeah, you're talking right now. So then she's like, but it's not fair to the people. So we've got to come up with some revenue. And that's her push of these building permits, this RV fee, all this stuff. That's where that's coming from. It
You know,
is
I don't, if you're going to tax people that are coming here to visit from out of the area, some sort of travel, or like they have the tow bridges and things like that, which we're not going to have that here unless they set up at the 33 bridge.
that's what they're gonna do with that new Speedwell bridge that they ain't never gonna build.
But I mean, I could see having some sort of a a small fee tax, whatever, for tourism. People coming from outside the area, but just to keep taxing and regulating local citizens, it's all the same thing, whether it's a wheel tax, a property tax, a RV fee slash tax, a building permit that's being increased excessively, where you can't even go out in your yard and build a little barn without having to worry about the tax man looking down your throat. So, I mean, they've got to get away from that. People are sick and tired of this constant grind that they're seeing at the county commission. I mean, they keep saying, well, we've kicked the can down the road. I hear that over and over. We've heard that for 2 years. But folks, you guys are running it up the I mean, you're just going to cause your people to just, go bankrupt. They're running out of money. Do you think that you're the only county that is looking for revenue? The state is looking for revenue. Companies are looking for revenue. That's why insurances have went up. People are getting
The House Theater closed. They looking for revenue.
Higher utility bills, higher rent, higher mortgage, higher food. Listen, folks, if you're on an income, let's just say an average income of $750 to $1,000 a week, by the time everybody gets a piece of your check, including the IRS and everybody else, you don't have any money left. You have very little. And a lot of people are maxed out in these credit cards. So, they're already owed. They're already owing their money, and it's all getting taken. And many people have told me I don't even have enough money to pay my taxes, because by the time I pay for food, medicine, the cost of living, I'm struggling. I have no extra money to pay anything, even $20. And people are
It's
to
just
the point.
$20.
Yeah, I feel like I was rich if I had $20 to end of the week. A lot of people are either fasting like I'm doing, or they're just eating peanut butter sandwiches because they don't really have enough money to go out to eat anymore. The struggle's real out here, and these politicians have got to lay off their people, or they're not going to have anybody left to pay taxes. The people are going to just start moving or trying to do other things. I mean, families are going to start moving in together, and it's just not going to be pretty in the future if this continues.
Absolutely. All right, let's go on. There was discussion about ambulance. EMS gets a new ambulance every year. It's the agreement they have with the EMS and all that kind of thing. They're an ambulance behind. So here in the next little bit, Union County will be getting 2 new ambulances because one's been on back order so long. Now that's according to the mayor. EMS has 6 current ambulances in service, and so the agreement is when they get a new ambulance, they have to put one out of service, and they get a new one every year. So I don't know how fast these things wear out or whatever. I'm sure it's pretty fast, but EMS gets a new ambulance every year. There's 6 in service, getting 2 new ones. So I guess they got to put 2 out of service. I don't know, but that's how it works. Moving on. The the mayor asked for some things in the current budget that he's currently working with. And he's asked for some money for some HVAC replacements. He's asking to use some money for Wilson Park on improvements for the concession stand, some ADA or some disabled improvements. He's wanting to improve some concrete and some gutters and some rotting wood on the gazebo. Some new things he's asking for in the budget is more HVAC, a new ADA, or again, a disabled entrance to the courthouse. He wants to upgrade the phones at the courthouse and at the community centers. He's wanting to put new gutters, paint, put some exterior lighting up. And then he's also wanting to look into a custodial service for all county buildings. That would include the community centers and that kind of thing on a regular basis. Right now, you go and you rent one of these community centers and you're supposed to clean it up. Not everybody does. And so the next person comes in and rents it and it's a mess. And so he's looking for a custodial service to be able to take care of all that stuff. I think he's asking for 3 days a week or something like that. Again, that's going to be discussed further in county commission. So again, folks, just a reminder, all these things are wish list, not approved by county commission as of yet. And the last thing, an update on the ARPA funds as far as a community center and Speedwell or Big Ridge. Greg Dyer is meeting with somebody later on this week about a possible location for the Speedwell location or the Speedwell Community Center. So we will see what happens with that. Probably perhaps learn more about that on Monday. As far as Big Ridge goes, we're still the redheaded stepchildren out here, and we ain't getting jack. So we're still looking for property out here. We can't get internet. We can't get a community center. Or EMS for that matter.
Well, I think it's time to refund our constables. What say you, Jason?
Well, that'd be nice. You know, give them a little bit anyway, $100 a month, something like that. Let's put some money where our mouth is and actually support those that are actually out there trying to actually protect us and all that kind of good thing.
Yeah, I just got a text from Jacob Thompson, who is the secretary of the Tennessee Constable Association, and he was just speaking very highly of John Dennis and the great job he is doing, not only for Union County, but also across the state, and the way that he's becoming a activist for the constables and supporting other constables that run into issues across the state. And like I said, folks, if you don't know what a constable does, they're like the people's version of the police. We elect them, and we can unelect them if they do a bad job. But we have laws in place now that put them through some of the same training. It's constantly being improved as regular law enforcement officers. They are law enforcement officers, but they are elected. So we hope that in the future, to make our constables here in Union County and across the state a great presence with what the people need in our communities. It is just good to have someone's number that you know has the experience to protect the community when needed. I have called on our constables several times in the past, and I have never been disappointed. So, you know, we're talking about dangerous situations where these guys can, you know, make a call and they can have a bunch of people over in your area when you're in trouble. So very, very proud of our constables. And we are actually going to be doing some things here in the near future once spring gets here to recognize our constables, give them some sort of a recognition or something. So very proud of them. What else you got, Jason?
Don't tell him that I said this, so everybody be quiet. Shh. But John Dennis is a great guy, and I really appreciate everything that he does, and all of our constables that are out there working. I know we've got a couple that ain't doing anything, but the ones that are out there working, I absolutely appreciate everything y'all do. But John did an awesome job for me and my family when my kid's other dad passed away, and I greatly appreciate him a whole lot. All right, so that was, go ahead.
Just to let everybody know, we have a local Union County Constable Association. If you guys would like to donate to that Constable Association, you can talk with Mr. Dennis about that. We, the people, that's something we can support financially. And from time to time, hopefully lobby for our constables to make sure they are compensated for at least their fuel. Most of the constables that are active right now are paying out of their own pocket for their automobiles, their equipment, and their uniforms. And that they love what they do. They love their community when they can do that without any compensation at all. And Mr. Dennis is an outstanding example of just that.
Absolutely. So that ends the budget and finance meeting. Then we went into a financial management meeting, which they don't have these very often. These financial management meetings are I want to say maybe once every 6 months, it seems like. So we had one tonight, and they voted to make the next one in September, if that tells you anything. But this gives them a baseline to start working on the budget, this upcoming year's budget, and that kind of thing. Basically, the only thing they really talked about in this meeting was the finance department for Union County. That would be Missy Brown's area. And so Missy was asking for, and I will say this first, last budget, when everybody got these pay raises and all that kind of thing, Missy Brown was asking for raises and such for her department too. Last year, they didn't give her department a raise. And so she's asking for a $2 an hour raise for her working folks. And that did pass this. And so they have to vote on it in county commission. But that's a $2 an hour raise for her employees. She's also asked for a pay increase for herself. But again, she left that up to the committee to work out. She's currently making a little over $78,000. And the stipulation of what they've been going by in the county is she makes 10% less than the trustee. All the county county elected employees will make a 5% raise next year. And so with that, and getting her under that 10%, that would give her an automatic raise. This is talking about Missy Brown. That would give her an automatic raise to $82,127. Gerald Simmons did make a motion to make that happen, but then he withdrew it because the argument got put by Mayor Bailey that she would already be getting that anyway next year. So it's not really a raise. And so Cindy Jesse made a motion to give her a 5% raise, which would raise her to $86,500. Gerald Simmons seconded that, and it did pass. So it does have to be approved by county commission. And then Missy Brown also asked about a part-time employee that she had. She had 2 part-time employees. One of those actually resigned and is now a teacher for the county. And so she was asking to make a part-time employee a full-time employee and pay her or him, whoever the employee is, $15 an hour, which would increase her budget by $8,840. That did pass as well and has to be voted on in county commission. And like I said, the next meeting for the financial management committee is in September. So that's all I got from tonight's meetings. What say you?
Well, I say a whole lot of spending going on.
Well, Cheryl Walker said they love to spend money.
Obviously, they do, because every meeting that you go to, it's always about a new project or something that they're wanting. It's not always a multi-million-dollar project, but it seems to be like they're trying to catch up, make up for years and years where the county was very frugal and actually had a surplus of money for rainy days. And now we're not there anymore. As we knew that would happen, we are experiencing a deficit. And I have asked the question about the school loan, and I have been told, and that's called the school bond. And I have been told by a county commissioner that those bonds have not been sold. So the money that's being used to start the school was already in the pot, so to speak, from the, I believe it was $15 million that they had been, however you want to look at, that was in their coffers that they had from us paying them too much or whatever. And they were taking that money to start the school, and they were planning on selling the loan later. And I've been hearing some very disturbing talk about bonds because I do follow financial people. And basically, the story is that it's going to be nearly impossible to do that in the near future if things go the way they think it's going. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out when the rubber meets the road, so to speak.
Well,
So
it's
go ahead.
obviously the economy is not getting any better, and we're losing businesses. Knox County is losing businesses. We're losing business. Everybody's losing businesses. We here in Union County, you think it's not touching Union County. We lost Domino's. We lost the coffee shop there. I mean, it's happening, and we just gotta think about it in our financial struggles.
Yeah, you just can't keep spending like a sift and expect to tax your way into prosperity. It's just not going to work. But we do have some new businesses that have opened. We have a Pop Shelf, which is a dollar store franchise that's opened up or will be opening in the months ahead. The corporations, they do it a little differently. So your big mega corporations, they're able actually to do quite well in a recession, somewhat. Sometimes they will close stores and basically consolidate certain ones. And that's what you're seeing with Pop Shelf, places like that, which is more of a grocery store / Target kind of, if you've ever been in one. I don't mind having a Pop Shelf. I think it's good having another sort of a semi grocery store here. And a lot of people get online and ask, well, can we get a Kroger? Can we get the, Aldi's? Can we get this? Can we get that? Folks, you really do not want all these corporations coming into your town. It takes away the small town feel. You are close enough to Knoxville to go to those locations and do your shopping. What you want to see more of in your community is local, homegrown, entrepreneurial businesses. This is how great areas of the country have actually increased their tax base. It's harder. I'm not saying it's easy, but you've got to have leadership in your politics, which we've been trying to establish here, who understand that you can't tax and spend. You have to build your business community. And that's something that's very lacking with most of our politicians right now. I hate to say it, but most of them just don't uh, have any ideas about it, and maybe they don't have the experience, or they don't know how to go about it. We need some good business minded people who can grow business and grow local small business, Main Street America type stuff, and grow our county from within. That is the best way to grow an economy on the local level and increase your tax base to where your citizens are not obligated to pay all these freaking taxes. What say you, Jason?
Well, I'll agree with most of what you said, not all of it.
You don't have to.
Well, that's good because it wouldn't anyway. No, I agree that we need more entrepreneurial businesses here in Union County and everywhere, really. The mom and pop shops and all that. I'd love to see those just, have a huge boom and take over. I just don't understand why we need so many dollar stores. We've got how many Dollar Generals in Union County? We've got a Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, Shelf. It's still a Dollar General. I don't care what you say. And I can say that because I've got family that is managers of one. So it's the same thing. And yeah, they do carry a little bit of groceries, but that's Dollar General Market kind of thing. It's just a different name. It's the same thing. It's just a different name. But
Jason
can
wants
we
to
get
take your
something
pop
new?
check.
Can we
Jason
get
wants to
something
take
new?
Well, I mean, I would be happy with any type of store, of course. But one of the things that I see that is sad, like in Millsboro, Kentucky, they had a declining population, and one of the things that happened to their main street where they shut, when all these big stores come in, what happens to your main street businesses is that they have competition that's too big. They have too much buying power. And so if you're a small mom and pop and you're dealing in, I don't know, small household goods or whatever, and then a Target moves in, who do you think is going to get most of the business? And that's the problem with the big corporations. They come in, they take up all your land. They compete with your small businesses. The small businesses close their doors because they cannot compete. It's not that there's not just not enough people to service both of those types of stores. So a lot of them close down, and that's what's happened in Middlesboro. Now, Middlesboro lately has been going through some positive changes. Now that people are sick of corporations and it's kind of went through a cycle, now Main Street is starting to reemerge because they're finding that people are enjoying the small town restaurants, and they've created a nice little local business street down there on Cumberland, or I don't know if it's Cumberland, but it's down there in the main part of town where they've got all these new restaurants that have opened up, and they're all owned locally. The shops, they a lot of them have opened, and they've got a little scene down there. They've got music playing there on certain nights of the week, and they've really created some energy downtown. And that would be very nice to have in here in Union County. We've seen some glimpses of what that could look like in Dandridge and little small towns like that. And those are the types of things that really, that's one of the reasons I get so upset when our county commission does not have the vision to see that our downtown area should not be used for schools, nor should it be used for jails and courthouses. It should be used to bring in a main street so that we can increase tourism in our little area and create tax base. But that is something that they just don't seem to get.
I agree with that. I'd like to see a revitalization down there, Main Street. There's a bunch of historic or history, if not historic, in that area and that kind of thing. So that would be great. I did have a county commissioner from another county actually approach me the other day and said, "Hey, I heard y'all were getting a Patriots chicken up there in Union County." And so I guess they're still talking about that. Hopefully we get it, be something new, I guess. He told me that he's a Granger County commissioner. He told me that Patriot Chicken is actually changing their menu, and they're going to start having hamburgers and different things like that on their menu too. So I guess this is going to be Patriots. I don't know. You can start serving other things than chicken. You just can't call yourself Patriot Chicken no more. But from my understanding,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
From my understanding, that's supposed to be. They're looking at building it there next to Wallace's Auto, where the old car wash used to be. That's my understanding, where they're talking about going there, and that may change. I don't know, but that's the last I heard about it.
Well, there's 2 restaurants I'd like to see. Pal's, and it's a small franchise, but it was actually based out of I believe Johnson City, and they've got like maybe I want to say 7 locations across East Tennessee. But it was kind of like the old Blue Circle. And by the way, speaking of Blue Circle, for those of you who grew up here many years ago, I'm telling my age now. The old Blue Circle restaurant has opened back up in is it Johnson City or Kingsport? Do you remember?
You asking the wrong person.
Well, anyway, Blue Circle recently, it's very retro. They've opened it up. It's really cute, like the 1950s and 60s, with the the turquoise blue and the chrome seats and all that. Well, anyway, they've got a new location. Actually, it was in the original building of the Blue Circle. Now, the menu probably has changed, of course, because it's all new owners and everything. But they have classic hamburgers and hot dogs and chicken fingers and all kinds of the stuff that milkshakes and whatever they had at that time. And I think they even have blue plate specials. So I'll get that information. We'll talk about that in a future podcast. But those are the types of restaurants, those local owned restaurants and businesses. We're just hungry for that here in our country. Everything, it's another problem we have is a lot of our jobs have went overseas. Everything has become so commercialized for corporations that things have lost their uniqueness. Everything is so mass manufactured anymore, and it's not even that good a quality. And that's something that we need some good business minded people here to hopefully affect the way that our local political leadership thinks about our downtown area. And like I said, those putting those public buildings, building those projects in those areas is a big mistake. Because then you're just taking out all your valuable space. And the same with Maynardville Highway. We've built high schools and middle schools, elementary schools on our highway. And I know when it happened, it was many years ago, and probably before people understood completely how that works. And the formulas have changed over the years. At that time that those buildings were built, you had people moving out of the main areas of town and moving more into the areas around town, and you had more of the businesses closed down. But now, and more government. But now it's going the other direction. It's actually where the downtowns are becoming areas for people to live in, play in, shop in, eat in, and that's the kind of formula that's working with our present day generation. So I hope that someone has the vision in the future to make that happen.
Absolutely.
Jason, unless you've got something to talk about, did you want to hit on the Constitution first, or do you want to talk about the laws that may be unconstitutional?
I'll let you run with this one. I've done enough talking.
Okay. We're not going to talk about it a whole lot tonight just because between work and everything that we had to do today, we didn't have a lot of time to do research. But I've got some interesting things that I want to share with you about our Constitution. And then we're going to talk just a minute, which I'm going to do a better job of researching before we actually do a full podcast on that. But I have got to research our Constitution. When I say Constitution, I don't mean our United States Constitution. I mean our Tennessee Constitution. So some interesting facts about that. The state of Tennessee, we have had 3 state constitutions since its inception in 1796. And the people, and I'm sorry about my cat. The cat is meowing for some reason.
It's hungry.
I fed the cats. I don't know why I guess it's wanting my attention. That's how it works. So on June the 1st of 1796, the people voted for the first Tennessee Constitution. And since that time, we have had 3 different variations of constitutions. Now, to kind of explain how this works, in the 1830s, we had a population that grew 6 times greater than what we had in 1796. We joined the Union basically in 1796, so that's why the Constitution was created. And then we had to update, according to the records, the court system, because the court system changed. There was problems in the original Constitution, according to the historians, and the Constitution had to be changed somewhat to basically just because of the courts. Not a whole lot changed except the court system, I guess you'd say how the courts were put together, because you got to remember when you have a growing population, that can change the way that you set a court up 50 years before. So that was what they changed the first time. And then in 1870, it was changed again. And guess why it was changed, Jason? Can you guess? Knowing that it was 1870.
I don't know why. Slavery.
Yes. So basically, they decided to add a permanent abolishment of slavery into the Constitution, that slavery would be no more. This was after the Reconstruction plans of some of the people that crafted the Reconstruction. So that was the second change. Then in 1953, we were recognized as the nation's oldest unamended constitution. Now, a lot of people say, well, was there other states having constitutional changes? Was, of course. So what basically was happening was Tennessee, unlike other states, pretty much kept true to its original constitution, except for a few changes based on things that happened that did not basically exist anymore, just because things got upgraded. You know what I'm saying? Like people didn't do certain things that they did in 1796. So some of those things got changed, like the court system. So 1953, it was changed again. It does not really say why, but there was some kind of amendment made. And wait a minute. I'm sorry. It was not changed. We were just recognized as the oldest unamended constitution. So I'm wrong there. Okay. I told you I didn't have time to put this together tightly, but I've got some good stuff here. So our amendments were in the following years: 1960, 1966, 1972, 1978, 1998, 2006, and then more recently in 2022. There has been 11 amendments since 2006. So most of the amendments has happened in the last 20 years. Okay. I find that kind of interesting. I'm sorry about this cat. This cat is annoying me. I just want to go slap the cat, but I can't do that. So
I'm calling Peter.
Yeah, I'm an ADHD, and when I hear something like that, I can't stay on thought. So I'm sorry, folks. I may just have to hand this over to you, Jason, for just a second, and let me go take care of this cat. This is
Oh,
annoying.
she gonna go
Sorry about
take
that.
care of the cat.
There you go.
Oh Lord. Well, I don't know what to talk about other than what she was talking about. So, uh,
Hold on. I'm
chasing the
almost
cat.
back.
Oh, there
Okay,
she's back. Put me
sorry
on the
about
spot like that.
you did that to me one night. Ha ha. So I hope it don't start me on again. All right. So there's been 11 amendments since 2006. Now I found that very interesting. We have had several things change in a major way in the Constitution. Number one, elected school superintendents were removed. Everybody probably remembers that. That was in 1998. The other thing that changed was the constables were removed out of the Constitution. And that happened, I believe, in the 70s. All right. So that's the two things. There's some other little things that happened too, but those are the two big things that happened. Uh, like I said a few years ago, you probably remember some of those constitutional changes about the prisoners working and that kind of stuff, which some of that stuff I did not agree with, but people voted for it anyway. I think people just did not understand what they were voting for. But I'm not here to talk about that tonight. Just here to basically discuss, with that being said, that we have a serious issue here in this state, and maybe some other states have this problem too, Jason, with unconstitutional laws that are formed when we have changes to our Constitution. There is a danger in changing the Constitution. The founding fathers, even with the United States Constitution, said, they didn't want the Constitution to be changed because you're going into dangerous waters when you start changing the Constitution. Those verbiages in those constitutional clauses are there for a reason. They're not there to, I mean, you can amend things, but you're not supposed to start removing things out of the Constitution. Then you get into some dangerous, uncertain waters. And that has happened. We're starting to really understand now why it's so important to maintain those constitutional verbiages, especially, we got into appointed school superintendents, which that has been a problem for a lot of our public schools. People feel they no longer have any say in the public schools, and the public schools have basically been kind of running. I hate to say it, kind of rogue. I mean, they've got their own thing. They operate independent of the people. I mean, we have school boards, but the school boards, a lot of them have turned into lobbyists for the school systems. And so they're not there. They're supposed to be there for the people. And they say they're there for the people. And I'm sure we've got some good school board members. But at the same time, when something comes up with a building project, they usually go along with the school system. They don't question it often enough. So those school board members, you have to kind of watch them. That's why we need good patriots in those positions.
Well,
And
there's
then
a reason that I consider myself a constitutional Republican, and why when I talk about that, I always say that I believe in the Constitution as written. Don't change it. It was fine then, it's fine now. There's no reason to change it. Yeah, I understand times change and some things got to be tweaked a little bit sometimes and that kind of thing. But I was doing all this nonsense just to make certain groups happy and all that kind of good stuff. Leave it alone. That's my opinion.
feel free to make it yours.
Feel free to make it yours. And if you
So,
don't like it, I'm sorry.
so the problem with this, deciding which offices were, or should be taken out of the Constitution, folks, we're on a slippery slope. And now that we're in this part of our history where we're all stressed to the max and we're all seeing the real dangers in the big governments, these constitutional changes that have occurred in the last 20 years have been very detrimental to our freedoms and our voices to be heard. And who is to say that in another 10 years, they won't decide, or they'll decide, well, maybe we just need to make sheriffs appointed, or we just need to make county commissioners appointed, or we need to appoint school board members. You're getting into some very dangerous waters, like I said before. And when we hear them talking about our Constitution and changing it, it should automatically raise red flags in your head. And there should not be any support of those constitutional changes, in my opinion, because you're just asking for trouble. Which brings us to the whole thing with the constable thing is a great example of that. So we have a bunch of people across our state, county commissioners and sheriffs, who basically have had, through lobbying efforts, have had the constables removed from the Constitution. Okay. And then they've weaponized the county commissions to vote, or be able to vote, another elected office out. Okay. That in itself, the law that exists, and I sent that to you, Jason. Do you have that law number?
Let's see. Law number. You only sent me like 50 of them.
Yep. I made up for lost time. So, well, it's not important, but so the law.
That's the chapter 10, part 1, section 810-101.
Yeah. So that law right there, if you were to look at that, you can tell that that law was written with bias. And I'm not even sure, after talking with some of our constable people across the state, our leadership in the Constable Association, that kind of thing, that law is even constitutional. So I decided to do a little research on my own and pulled up, and I sent Jason a ton of this stuff today. I pulled up a ton of challenges to laws that have been created, not just about constables, but about a lot of things, from subjects from plumbing to the way you shop to, laws about everything, and that appeals to consumers or clergy or whatever. And there's tons of these laws that exist in our books that have been challenged by judges and attorney generals. And the problem that you get into with these laws is that often, just like with the constable, use that as an example, back when they did this law, they had a thing to get rid of the constables, the Sheriff's Association. I'm just going to put it on the line there. Now, I'm not saying every sheriff in the state was against them, but the lobby was against them. So they decided to make a law that said that the county commission could remove another elected official, aka the constables, from office, or not from office, but abolish the elected position altogether. There is not any other elected office that I could find in the state of Tennessee where this can occur. Not any other elected position can they abolish. But for some reason, that got under the radar. And people, I guess, because of the timing that was, people didn't know about. Remember, this was before internet. This was before people were talking. If this were to occur now, had they survived that, they probably wouldn't have got away with it. But because it was in the 70s, people didn't hear about it till way after the fact, and people were not able to mobilize and to fight back. And so they got this crazy law in that, to me, if it was challenged and somebody could get this going as a lawsuit or as a challenge for an attorney general to rule on, we could actually get this law completely taken away. What say you, Jason?
Well, what I was going to say is, number one, I counted how many things you sent me tonight, and there's 13. And so, no, I didn't get
Lucky
through all of
13.
them. But
Lucky 13.
you couldn't make it 14 or 12. You
Yeah,
had to do
well,
13.
I'll send you 666 tomorrow.
You know, 13 is the favorite number of my least favorite singer, right?
Oh, okay.
And I'm not
Taylor,
even going to say her name because
Taylor
I don't even
Swift.
like saying her name. Anyway,
Swifty.
but but as far as another part of that law that you're speaking of also goes on population. That's what happened in Knox County. That's why Knox County don't have constables anymore. It wasn't necessarily that Knox County did away with their constables. It was their population got to a certain amount, and that automatically kicked in this particular part of the law that said, and I don't know the exact numbers, but let's just say for the sake of argument, it was your population was 500,000 folks. And so once you got there, you couldn't have constables anymore. That was part of the law that was built in there. There's also other stipulations that are built in there that, you know, you could have 2 constables per district, but you couldn't have more than half of what your county commissioners. I mean, there's all kinds of twists and all kinds of things in this law to make it harder, specifically on the constables, that part of the law, you know, and it just very confusing, and I think it's done that way deliberately to make common folk not know what's exactly going on.
Yeah, and so I guess my whole point in bringing this up is that we the people have to watch these processes. So when you hear them talking about changing something in the Constitution, like I said, uh, and we try to find out when those things happen. That doesn't happen every year. It usually happens every few years. Somebody will come up with something. I know on these 4 things that happened the last or since 22, we had very little uh, knowledge that it was going to happen until like the week before. And then suddenly it's on a ballot and we're voting. And it's like they didn't really give the public enough time to even discern what all this meant. There were some newspapers that tried to explain it and publish it, but you know, a lot of that stuff, remember the media, they're not always going to explain things correctly. So people were very confused about what they were voting for. And a lot of people, they just guessed. And that's never safe. That's why I don't like constitutional changes because of that very reason, because it's so confusing. And why change it when it was meant for a reason? And usually in those constitutions, it's always pretty much timeless. There's no reason to change it. And we have enough
Absolutely.
laws. I heard someone today, because I believe the Tennessee legislature is trying to vote a way that they can on in odd years. I don't know if you heard this, Jason, where they can actually stay in session until September instead of April. Have you heard this?
I have not.
So, what that means for you folks is that these wonderful legislators, and a lot of them do good work, but they're able to make more laws. And how many of you all
Surely not.
how many of you all want more government in your lives? Raise your hand. So that in itself is
Progressive governments at that.
yeah. Why do we need legislators making more laws into the fall in odd years? I mean, why are these things occurring? I mean, you got to ask the questions, the tough questions. People just, we're just going to keep going along with everything that happens and never question it. Or are we going to contact our legislator and say, heck to the no? We don't want you in there any longer than you're supposed to be. And they're already in there too much, in my opinion. I mean, I wouldn't care if they just go in for a few months and leave, but most of the time they're in session from January the 12th, around January 12th till about April. Sometimes they go to May, but they're in there 5 months technically. So and then they go home and they do their, go to their restrictive areas and talk to their constituents for the next session. But um, I just think there's way too much playing around with our Constitution, and as far as the law goes, you need to watch laws. Laws are not always what they seem, and laws are written to be very gray and also to be interpreted in many different ways. And that's dangerous too. And so a lot of these laws need to be challenged, and that's one law. As far as the Constitution, then being removed, the constables, and then it being turned around to where they could be removed by another government entity, that needs to be challenged, in my opinion. What say you, Jason?
Well, yeah, again, with their time that they're there, a lot of that time, in my opinion, is wasted because they do a whole lot of arguing and bickering and not actually getting anything done. And that goes with the federal government too, not just Tennessee government. I'm just nature of the beast. Yeah, I know they've got to debate and they've got to do this and do that. I get that. But a lot of it, a lot of things they could get done a lot better, a lot faster if they actually work towards something instead of, a lot of it showboating. And we've been out there in Nashville with all the hooping and the hollering and the screaming and the chants and all that stuff done mostly by the left, but it's just wasted time. And hopefully, if they're doing their job correctly as a representative of the people, when they go back to their districts or what have you, hopefully they're out there talking to folks, and hopefully they're out there getting opinions on what the people think they should be doing. They shouldn't be, again, this is my opinion, feel free to make yours, they shouldn't be going back the next session and voting on what they want. They should be voting on what the people want. And sometimes they have to vote against what they actually want, what their opinion is, because it's what the people want or what the majority wants. And that's the fine line with being a politician that's truly working for the people. And a lot of the times, you get in a rut, and then you start being self-serving, and you don't really talk to people, and you have no want or anything to talk to people. It's just going to be your way or no way. And again, that does a disservice to the people too. And so extending your time in session is just going to give more time for more chaos and less time for more work, because now you're thinking, hey, I can continue to argue because I've got more time to argue and I'll get my way eventually, instead of, actually getting some work done.
Right. Well, anyway, that's all I got. Like I said, the got to keep.
That's my cue to shut up.
Oh, one other thing. One other thing I wanted to let everybody know about. We are a part of the Tennessee Freedom Coalition. We are a part of a state group. I'm trying to get my notes here. The Tennessee Constitutional Grassroots Coalition. And you're going to be seeing a lot of the bills that are going through committees and such with action. I call them action items with contact information and links on our Facebook page. We can't put that on Rumble or YouTube, but we can put it on Twitter if I want to. But most people follow our Facebook page as far as the text that we put out and the information, the announcements. Today we started putting up the images of the I guess you'd say of the language or of the actions that we would like for people to contact your senators. We've got all the links in there to the state website. We make it as easy as possible. They were voting on today, I believe, language about the universal ID, which a lot of people in our state are against, having a universal ID that follows you around everywhere. A lot of people have big concerns about that, and surveillance and the strings that are attached to you personally with the government. So I have been against it myself. I know people sometimes think, oh, y'all are crazy. You should be a little bit more understanding that we've got to track people for certain reasons and it makes life convenient and yada yada. But listen, folks, these things can be weaponized against you with the wrong characters in power and the wrong bureaucrats. That's why we're concerned. If everybody was perfect and we could use these things as a convenience, a true convenience for people, and everybody was great and honest, we wouldn't have these concerns. But we're living in a society that wants to control everybody. And so we do not like that law. I put that law up today, or it's not a law, it's a legislation. They're trying to enact it. And they started introducing this a few years ago when you went to get your driver's license. You probably have seen the sign that says you can get a universal ID or a driver's license. I chose to get only a driver's license.
Not a real ID.
Yeah, it's a real ID. And so they're trying to get that shoved down everybody's throat now that we have to have it. So we are.
It was supposed to already have been done, but COVID knocked that out and they pushed it back.
Yeah. So that was an action item that you guys need to be involved in. You need to follow those links, send those emails, call those offices. And folks, if you all don't vote or are not registered to vote, you need to get registered to vote because election's coming up and there's no time like the present to get registered. We're going to need every vote we can get in order for there not to be as much cheating. I have talked to people till I'm blue in the face about the importance of voting and been told by some people I'm not voting because my voice does not count, or they're going to do what they want to do anyway, and all that craziness. And you're wrong. I mean, if you believe that, you are. I do not have sympathy towards you when things go wrong and you get screwed. So, you guys, if you don't vote, you have no real say in what happens, and that's sad. I mean, that people actually feel that way, but some people are just very bitter and they refuse to vote. So that's why we need as many of us that will vote and believe in the process, regardless of the flaws, to counter these people, because they're going to destroy our nation if we don't get off the couch and get to the ballot box.
Miss England, I believe you could go to the Union County Election Administrator website, and that should take you to a link to the state. Or you could go to the state election website and register to vote that way.
Also, wanted to let y'all know, if you've got kids that have just turned 18, encourage those guys, take them or show them how to do it online, get those guys registered too. We need all the people we can get. Hopefully they're conservatives. I know there are a lot of young people are starting to turn away from just being crazy with some of this woke stuff, but we got to get our young people involved in the process as well. Don't be afraid of that at all. Also, if you have family members, husbands, wives that have not voted in the last few years, tell them to get off the couch and get their butt down to the election office, or do it online with them so that their vote will count. We've got to have everybody at the polls, and we need poll watchers too. That's another thing, Jason. We have got to get some of these folks to help us poll watch. We've got how many? 7 precincts here in Union County?
Correct. And the only vote that doesn't matter is the one not cast.
That's right. That's right.
Every vote matters. It doesn't matter if it's, for somebody we don't like or whatever. Every vote counts. Every vote matters. So get out there when it's time to vote. I know early voting's going on right now for City of Manorville and Plainview, I believe, something like that. So get out there and vote, folks. And Union County has a election coming up in August.
And I will tell you.
I was going to say, because you said this beginning of the podcast, if you want to run for, if your school board member is up this time, because they alternate, if you want to run, go pick up your petition. I checked it earlier. There's still only 2 positions that anybody has picked up petitions for, and that's Randy Turner and David Cox. So they're the only 2 that have picked up petitions.
So the school board positions are open?
Nobody's picked up any school board petition as of what's listed on the website right now. I don't know if she's not updated it, but I looked earlier. Actually, I looked while I was sitting in this meeting taking notes, and those are the only 2 people that have picked up petitions.
So what school board seats are going to be possibly vacant?
You would ask me that, wouldn't you? It's not listed, so I don't know. But I do know the 4th district, Big Ridge, is up. I do know that much.
Okay, so we need someone in District 4 to possibly pick up petition. We and maybe one other one, right? We just
I'm not, again, I don't know what other districts. I just know District 4 is because District 4 didn't run last time in 22.
So did District 4 get represented at all?
Yeah, David Kopic is our school board member.
But I thought he didn't pick up. Who ran?
Well, we've not had election yet, so nobody's picked up the petition.
Oh, I thought you meant that we had an election. Nobody opted in. Okay.
No, it's nobody's picked up a petition for the August election.
Okay.
For any school board member seats. The only petitions that have been picked up is Randy Turner picked his up for that position, and David Cox.
All right. So if you're in District 4, you want to run for school board, you want to make changes, good conservatism, not progressivism, not wokeism, all that awful stuff, I urge you to pick your petition up and run for school board. And please let us know if you decide to run for school board so that we can interview you. We will be vetting. Well, we won't, but the Tennessee Constitutional, Union County Constitutional Republicans will be. They'll be vetting in the upcoming elections. And if people ignore us, that's an indication, of course, that you may not want to support them if they ignore people who are trying to ask them constitutional questions that they may not be able to answer. So again, this is about policies and about your basically the way you view the Constitution and running for office and all the things that go with it. It's not about personalities. I think I've got everything. Remind everybody of our mixer next Tuesday night at 7:00 at Hardee's. The County Commission Monday night at 7 p.m. at the Union County Courthouse. And our March the 6th school choice trip to Nashville. That will be starting around 7 a.m. If you want to go to that, I didn't talk about that earlier a lot, but if you want to go to the school choice on the bus with us, with the AFP, please just send us a text or call us. We usually leave around 7:00 in the morning, or we meet around 7 a.m. I know it's early, but you can do it. We do it all the time. And
we do what I do, go sleep on the bus.
Yeah, those buses are very comfy. They lean back and everything. 8:30 or 9, we return home. It's a very fun trip. We stop at Buc-ee's a couple of times. One in the morning to get biscuits and gravy or whatever you want, and then next coming back, we usually stop for dinner. And then they feed you while you're in Nashville, usually lunch at the state capitol. So it's a very nice day. You get to meet a lot of other conservatives and patriots just like yourself that want to make change in our state government.
Definitely fun time. Definitely think about going with us. Even if you just want to go visit the Capitol and haven't visited it before, just want to look around, come on down and you might learn something.
That's right. All right. Well, see, when are we podcasting the next? We won't be next week. So will it be the week after that? What's our calendar say?
Well, I don't have a calendar out here. Should be two Tuesdays from today.
All right. So it'll be let's see, I'm looking here. Okay, so we'll be on the podcast on the 12th of Tuesday, or I'm sorry, 12th of March.
12th of Tuesday. 12th of Tuesday. That's a good one. I'm gonna have to remember that one.
And my name is Joe Biden. Sleepy Joe. Tonight I'm Sleepy Lola. Jason, can you say China?
No.
All right.
All right. Well, with that being said, I think she's giddy enough, so we're going to call this one done. We appreciate you joining us tonight. Thank you very much for being with us on this Tennessee Thunder podcast. We look forward to seeing you next time. We look forward to seeing some of you on Saturday. We look forward to seeing a lot of you on Monday at the county commission meeting, and then on our mixer on Tuesday. Remember to pray for me. I'll pray for you. Thank you, and God bless.